if you have bad habits, right, they're too light to feel until they are too heavy to break.
What's up, guys? Today we have a special guest, Jeremy Cheng. So this dude's a baller, man. He owns multiple businesses, construction, excavating, AV, music. He's also a realtor with his own team, and he's been renovating and building a rental portfolio since before it was cool. Welcome to the show, bro.
Right on. Nice to be here. Thanks,
dude.
man.
So I mean, like, let's dive into it because you're doing so much. Yeah, you have like multiple businesses. You've got like a construction company, excavating, like AV. You're also a realtor with your own team, and you've been like kind of like building your own rental portfolio on the side, like that along the way. And so I mean, just like, I would love to highlight kind of the differences between like business and real estate, and just kind of like also like your journey, you know?
Okay.
I mean, I know it's a lot to unpack, but I mean, the first question for you is, like, from owning businesses and running businesses, and also like building real estate, what's kind of like the difference, or what the thought process between like I guess maybe the difference between the two, and like why one's better, one's like not as good?
I think both are challenging. So we'll start with the similarities. Okay. The barrier to entry is higher on real estate monetarily. Okay. However, in order to get the money, that means you need to work really hard. Okay. And when you have a business, the barrier to entry is extremely low, but you have to work really hard. So in either scenario, if you're going to start a business in Hawaii, which arguably we have the highest tax rates in the nation, it's exceptionally hard to start, to become profitable. For real estate, it's really hard to just get the procurement, which is the acquisition, because the barrier to entry is extremely high.
So I mean, just looking at the contrast, what I see often is there's a lot of guys in like on the island who like own their own like houses, they own real estate rentals, and in my opinion, it seems like the barrier for entry for real estate is like relatively small, especially if you can do like a owner, like you live in it for, you put in like 3.5% or whatever for the purchase, turn that into rental, like do the next one, etc. But then for business, although like the upfront cost is small, I feel like the success rate is like super low, you know? Super
low, yeah. And I think it depends highly on what age bracket you draw your information from. Okay, so if we go back to 2008, the great financial crisis. Okay. Anyone who bought immediately after that.
You mean as like in real estate?
Yeah. Okay. Anyone who purchased in real estate immediately after that has a insanely good success story because we've had 14 years of unadulterated
it's basically been straight up for like all like that for housing, right? Like real estate.
So basically everyone who purchased a house between 2009 to 2011 right now is a real estate genius. Right?
No, that is so true.
So but if we took that entire cohort of individuals and put them in 2024, would they be as smart?
That's a good point.
Right? And so I always tell individuals on the business consulting side to be very careful where you derive information from. And that is something to take a look at, because history repeats itself. And it also kind of along the lines tells the truth.
It's also informs, right? But I mean that's a really interesting point, because I think like real estate in general has gotten just blown up over the last almost like 5 years with social media.
It's exciting.
And it's been like, I mean, like it's so if you look at when kind of like social media and like real estate is kind of blowing up, it's maybe like Bigger Pockets maybe popular maybe like 5, 6, 7 years ago, right? And so that was kind of like the ground roots. And then everybody was having massive success because the 5 years prior, everyone had massive success. And at that point, for the last 5 years, everyone has had massive success because it's been a straight up run, right? But
it's been fun.
It seems like where they were coming to a point where there is a little like uncertainty, there's a little more challenging market in the last like year and a half. And so you're seeing like kind of like a small change in sentiment where like real estate isn't the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it has made a multiple like tons of like millionaires and very successful people during that period of time, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you break it down to that metric, you could also say that the market itself maybe is not cooling. It's more so a factor of people's income. It's just not pacing with inflation, right? So if we're cresting over that hill where everything is either going to lower in price or we're just going to have more people renting, it's because people are not making enough money.
I mean, it's a very like interesting time I feel like we live in, because like you mentioned, like the housing prices have just gone through the roof like consistently, but then like income and inflation has kind of like been like the not keeping pace with it. So like we're this weird dynamic where like how are housing prices so high, but people are still making like relatively the same, or if not less, if you include inflation, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing to think about when you take advice from individuals who've had success 15 years ago, when they bought in, because compounding works both ways.
Yeah.
Right?
Explain that to me.
So like if you're in a market such as Hawaii, and your main goal is appreciation, which people aren't buying in Hawaii for cash flow. Yeah. Cap rates are terrible. Right. So, the larger the loan at the higher interest rate, because of the way things are amortized, and because the average individual who is a homeowner refinances every 4 to 5 years, the interest rate that they have is compounding against them in direct comparison to someone buying a home that's half the price, even at the same interest rate. I see. It's not twice as hard. It is more than twice as hard.
Yeah. I mean, we're diving into some like maths over here. Oh yeah. But like, it's like, that's a really, really good point. I feel like what you're making, just like the way that you're looking at like investing and things in general. Like it's so important to see like the current market, and like when you look back and you look forward, like there's never been a time like today. So it's hard to really predict how it's going to go, like pan out in the next like 5 or 10 years. Yeah. So like, just because it's so unique, right? Like all the different factors that are in play right now. Yeah. But I mean, just diving into like, so for you, like I see you're like very successful, like, in real estate as a realtor, but also your businesses. And so, I mean, like you've got an amazing story of how you built your portfolio, which I do want to dive into, but personally, just selfishly, I just want to see like, how are you so successful, and what is it about your day or your drive that like you're able to do so many businesses and have like success in all of them?
It's a good question. I would say, okay, well, I'm moderately successful maybe in this moment.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Well, I mean, like you're being humble, but okay.
When I'm dead and in the ground, if I still have a lot of this, or have had the opportunity to spend a lot of it for good causes, then I would have been successful. But I would attribute it to maybe the speed at which I make decisions. Okay. And then recognizing the right people to put around myself. Okay. So hiring is extremely important. Okay. When you want to have multiple streams. Businesses. Yeah.
Because I mean, like, because in your story you have like 7 different like streams, it looks like, and so starting out, I mean. Actually, let's just dive into your story. Like, it's like it'll kind of like explain like how like you accomplished everything. Okay. So, how did you get into real estate and get into business? Like, what does it look like?
What is the story? Okay, so the story arc is that I wasn't a very good student in school. Okay. I went to Castle High School. Okay. And wasn't a good student. Okay. What ended up happening was my mother had me work for her relative. Okay. She's like my main mentor. I call her Auntie Jerry. Okay. Auntie Jerry. She's not my auntie, but I call her Auntie Jerry. She's much older than I am. And at the time, she had 54 properties here on island.
Wow. Okay. So she was doing pretty good herself.
She did extremely well. And some of those properties were apartment buildings.
Oh, wow. Okay. Crazy.
Waikiki. Yeah. So these are not like, so it's not like she had 54 single family homes. She had 54 pieces of land.
Wow. Yeah. So okay. That's crazy.
Very successful. Okay. And she was a DOE school teacher.
Okay. I mean, I'd like to interview this lady, but okay. It's crazy. Okay. Great.
Like incredible. And I was working for her doing maintenance on her properties.
Like handyman work.
Handyman work, yeah. Okay. Changing toilets, changing sinks, vanities, lights, like learning electric, getting shocked.
120 is not so bad, right?
Yeah, not bad. Now I'm just like, I show my guys at work, I'm like, it's not that bad. And you just kind of like, And so anyways, I was doing that. And at a really early age, I think I probably had too much certainty in what my story was going to be. Okay. And I built a track for myself where I wanted as much time as possible and as much income as possible in order to pursue buying properties and acquiring them. So at like 17, I was a pretty outspoken kid. I was a weird kid in school because everyone's like, oh, this kid's like obsessed with money. And real estate.
So I mean, even at a young age, when you're in high school, you're like real estate and like income was a big part of like your vision.
Right. So because I had figured, well, my grandfather immigrated from China
Okay.
to be the first Oriental, at the time Oriental, I don't think
Okay.
that's PC anymore, but he was the first Asian professor to teach a Western subject in the United States.
Wow. Okay.
And he was very much an American, right? And so that's how my father was raised. He's like, you know,
We love
we're
America.
American,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
You know, patriot.
Yeah.
And I figured it is a gift that we get to choose what we want to sacrifice being in America.
Explain that.
You get to choose what you want to do. In other countries,
Okay.
you don't get to choose.
You mean like that? So I mean, just because we have the freedom to like to make decisions,
Yeah.
right? Like that, we can choose. Do we want to work hard and build something,
Yeah.
or do we want to kind of cruise and like live
Yeah.
off welfare or whatever it is? And
Exactly.
So
So I picked my sacrifice extremely early on in life.
okay.
And what ended up happening is that I became a commercial pilot.
Wow. Okay.
So at 17, I started flying airplanes.
Wow. Okay.
And by 19, 20, I was a commercial pilot.
Wow. Okay.
And that was one of the biggest losses. When you asked me earlier about losses,
Yeah.
I had this Sally Mae Pilot Career Foundation loan. It was $96,000. It was gnarly.
Okay.
And fortunately, you know, I learned a lot about debt really early on, right? So I look back at that and I go, okay, well, that was a
So you took out a huge loan in order to become a pilot,
yeah.
and then it didn't pan out as well as you thought it would.
No,
be,
I
so,
totally
okay.
quit. Like
Okay.
a total loser. I just was like,
I mean, it wasn't a loser, but like it's like learning experience, right? So,
right.
Okay.
And so I quit. Realistically, when I look back at it, I had a near miss midair. It was like almost a midair
Wow,
collision over Cocoa Head, and I was just like done. I was like, this is not for me. So, anyways, the story completely changes from there. I ended up, you know, hanging out, getting into music, going and hanging out with some friends at bars. At the time, I was going to school for a biology degree at Manoa.
Okay.
And I thought that was so cool. So I bought a guitar.
Okay.
And I started like hanging around musicians doing
The
sound.
thing is, like
for
wherever you hang out, it informs like your perspective of life, right? Because you hung out with like Auntie Jerry when you were very young. You saw all the success she had with real estate and finance, and you're like, hey, this is what I want to do because this is kind of like my peer group or like my view of the world, right? And now you're in the bars, you're hanging with all the musicians. Like the value of like your status or what's important to you is like directly by like your peer group, right? So like everyone's like, hey, the weightlifting is cool. Like you just want to get stronger, right? If everyone's like, hey, like having a great voice and singing is cool. Like you just want to become a better musician, right? So same with real estate though. So I think like when I first started, like I had like no real estate friends, and so like real estate was not cool. But now I'm all around like real estate friends all day, every day. So like that's all I think about, you know.
Right.
So.
That's a good point. And I'm very much a sponge in that way. So ended up, long story short, starting a music company.
Okay.
The first company.
So that was the first company you started, the music
2009.
company.
Yep. And started that. And then I became a musician.
Okay.
And started working Waikiki, which turned out.
I've heard you had a really good voice, by the way. So like, I don't know. From some sources.
Thank you. And I ended up kind of figuring out how to run and operate in the entertainment space independently of agents, and that made me a lot of money.
Okay. So you did really well as a musician.
Did really well, really early on. So like early 20s, easy 6 figures.
Okay. Wow.
And I was able to put that into property.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
So that kind of launched your first career, or your first rental into like what you built.
Oh, no, I did that till COVID happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started an AV company, then you started becoming a musician. What's the next step after that? So.
Started building a house. So I got the first property in 2014.
Okay. What'd you buy it for?
Right up the road.
Okay.
So I got it. What it equated to was $241,000.
With a loan or with
a loan?
Cash? Okay.
With a loan.
Okay.
So homeowner selling the property.
Okay.
Convinced them to do a cash out refinance with me on title.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
Sign them off at closing table.
Okay. Wow. Interesting.
Right?
So you kept you took over their loan, you're saying?
They didn't have a loan.
Oh, interesting.
But cash out refinance is more inexpensive. So did that, was able to procure the property and then renovated the property to raise raise the value.
So you renovated it yourself?
Yes.
These are kind of like your handyman work. I mean, your experience and stuff. So you took that, you like
I had a lot of
bootstrapped
friends.
it.
I had friends.
Okay,
too,
okay.
Yeah.
And
So
it was like the plate lunch friends or whatever.
Yeah, the plate lunch friends. Yeah, the day rate.
Yeah.
Pay day labor. They come in and help. And I had a lot of help. Like there's nothing that I've really completely done by myself. And my wife has been there the whole time.
Okay.
And so got that done, raised the value a lot, just made it like pure lipstick on a pig. Just polishing.
How much did you put into it as far
turds.
as just like the materials and things?
Probably 32 maybe.
Okay.
I had sold a car at the time. I had a car.
Okay.
Sold
what
it.
kind of car did you have?
I had a Porsche 911.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
No. But so you must say, dude, so you had a Porsche because you're doing really successful as a musician, right?
Yep.
Making a lot of money. It's like, hey, let's live a good life.
Yep.
But then you saw this opportunity in real estate, like for this rental that you were trying to build. So you sacrificed the Porsche so you could afford like the renovations.
Well, it wasn't so much as a rental. It was more so I saw value, so forced appreciation.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
So because there was so much available upside and the market was moving upward, I looked at it as, well, I can, at least 4x whatever I put into it.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. And that was really good. My wife was also pregnant.
Okay.
With our
First,
second kid.
Okay.
And so I had a timeline to meet. So I just did the outside of the house. Now this house was horrible.
I mean, that's the kind we like, right? The thing is, like, whenever you're looking for like a house to buy, the more horrible the house, the better the discount you usually can get. And so,
but I mean, this was like, we're talking, it was, so this, as the story goes, you want to hear the real story? Yeah, and I've never told this story before, on camera at least. The house was so bad. I thought I was just going to knock it down anyway, so I'm just going to make the outside look really nice. So I bought everything on Craigslist.
Okay.
Right? And we just pieced this whole thing together. And what ended up happening is I went to a bank to do, a HELOC.
Okay.
The appraiser comes out and the appraiser's like, I can't give you numbers on this because everything under the house was termite eaten. Like horrible. Like she's like, you shouldn't be living in here. It was so awesome. And the house on the outside looked pretty good.
That's great.
It looked pretty good. She's like, wow, you did all the renovations. I was like, oh, totally. Don't even look inside. And she's like, well, it looks like there's a crawl space under the house. I need to see the condition
That's crazy
of the
though,
structure.
because I swear, like, most times appraisers don't look in the crawl space. And so
she went under and it was so gnarly. It's like, I have photos of it. I'll show you when it's so much fun. It's so bad. So she left. And I just begged her. I was like, can you just say that you showed up and I wasn't home?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want, I wanted an opportunity to try and figure something out.
Yeah.
So I went to the bank again and they're like, oh no, we can't lend on your house because the appraiser told us that it's just totally nothing. So I had proceeded to go, I went to 8 banks and credit unions.
8 different ones.
8 different ones. And I got turned down by 7.
This is like a story or like a lesson in itself. And so it kind of just shows like the way that you approach the world. And so I think like for me, like when I was just starting, I got turned down by one bank. I'm like, oh, I guess a bank's not going to lend on my house,
Right.
But like you just have to like, you're going to get turned down like many times. And that's just part of the process.
Yeah.
But that maybe it was like maybe it's the second, maybe it's the fourth, maybe it's the 30th one, right? You never know, but you have to keep on trying because you're eventually going to get something.
Right. And so what ended up happening was there was this super awesome lady. Her name is Mihei Muraoka.
Okay.
If you're out there, thank you. I don't know where she is now. She was at Hawaii State Federal Credit Union.
Okay.
And she explained to me, because what happened was I was going to the bank and saying, hey, I want $500,000.
Okay.
I want $500,000 in a first position line.
Okay. Because you own it free and clear at this point.
No, I had a mortgage on it, but I wanted to pay off the first position mortgage.
I see.
I wanted the HELOC, and then I was going to knock it down and move at the speed of cash.
Okay.
So, but of course, the appraisal.
Yeah.
So what happened was she was so helpful. I shared with her, look, here's the truth. Because at this point, this is the 8th meeting I'm having, and I'm just like,
trying to figure this thing out.
I'm just thinking, I'm going to disappoint my wife. My parents were right. Yeah. My friends think I'm dumb. And I just leveled with her.
Wait, sorry. Let me get this straight. Yeah. So you bought a house that was basically like trash, right?
Yeah.
You and your friends made it like look pretty on the outside.
Yeah.
And the plan was to like get it appraised high enough where you could pull like cash out, knock the whole thing down, and then rebuild from new.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's a crazy story, but I love it. Okay.
And so I just told her, I said, look, The house is total crap.
Okay.
What can I do? This is my plan. I have building experience. I have plans already. Like,
Okay.
I'm like 70% in. I'm like broke as hell. I need help. And so what ended up happening was she's like, well, if you just get a $250 or $249,000 line of credit, we can do a drive-by appraisal.
Oh.
Right? Because
Nice.
what is the collateral?
Yeah.
The collateral
It's
is
less.
the home.
Yeah.
Well, the collateral is the house. So if I'm going to knock this house down, there's no collateral.
Yeah.
In some ways, they could do a due on sale clause
Yeah.
and be like,
Yeah.
dude, like,
Technically, right? So yeah.
give us all your money. So she was cool about it. And she's like, get money somewhere else. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. So I went back to my auntie.
Okay.
And I said, I want a hard money loan.
Okay.
So she drafted me up a hard money loan at prevailing rates.
Okay.
Which is more than fair of her.
Wait, so you meant Auntie, like Auntie Jerry?
Yep.
So, okay. So when you say hard money, you're like, hey, it's like a private money loan from her.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
PML.
Okay.
This is before.
This was before PML was like a thing.
A thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So-
I just made it up.
Okay.
And I wrote everything on my computer.
Okay.
Right?
So I mean, like, I love this because it's so creative, and like, you know, like, it's crazy because like when I was first starting, like, I had this idea of like, oh, dude, like, we should like Airbnb this house and rent it out. Like, I thought I invented Airbnb arbitrage.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like you're just using creativity to solve problems, right? And so like in your mind, you're like, dude, I just invented PML, right? I mean, because like you've never seen anybody do it before.
Well, okay, so I already knew Corey Namoro
Okay.
back then.
Okay.
And so I kind of knew the process.
Okay.
From a while ago.
Okay.
And just from reading books and being on Bigger Pockets.
Yeah.
I was a pro member for years. That was so helpful. But made that up and put everything together. And I was like, in 11 months, I'm going to have a brand new house. It's going to be rented out. It's going to be so sweet. And 5 years later, we had a brand new house.
Wow, that sounds like a
so gnarly. Yeah.
So, but I mean, okay, but then you got the drive-by appraisal.
Yep.
You took out the 240.
Took out the
and then you
249.
got a loan from your mentor.
Yep. 250.
Okay, so you got the 500.
Oh, no, 200. I only had 450.
Okay, so you're like tight on this part right now, so on the build. So.
Oh, we're talking brand new. I did steel.
Okay.
So the story on the house itself is wild because I brokered it out in New Zealand based on the commodity market, on the stock market.
Okay, I'm not following that.
Okay, so anyways, I had 450.
Okay.
And I just started working even harder. So I was working harder.
Because if you don't have money when you're starting, you can always replace it with sweat equity, right? Like it's so I mean, even like I think when I was first starting, like we did a lot of the renovations ourselves because like you don't have to pay somebody, right? So like if like why don't I just like save on this? You gotta buy the material, but then you can save on the labor as long as you're willing to do some of the work and do some of the learning.
Yeah.
So,
And I did a lot of the work.
Yeah.
And so that's why it took 5 years. So took the entire project took 5 years. I take that back. From the time I got the money, it took me 3 years.
Okay.
So that's still long.
Yeah,
that's really long. We're at the edge of the permit timeline. So
after all the building and all like the things that was complete, what is the house worth right now as a finished product?
Right now maybe 1.6.
Wow. So
and my loan's
you bought it.
700,000.
You bought it for 240.
Yep.
Did a bunch of probably put in like
put in
535.
535.
Okay.
Yep.
So then you're all in at like maybe like 800 ish around there.
Yep.
And now it's worth 1.6.
Yep.
I'd say that's a pretty good deal.
It was a good win, and it cash flows too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it cash flows like $3,200 a month.
Awesome and positive, right?
Positive.
Like net after all like your mortgage
Yep.
and everything, and so that's really good.
Yeah, that one is good. That one's a good one. But what saved me was coming out of that entire deal was that I just had the original mortgage, which I think at the balance was like 160 or something.
Okay.
And I had the 250.
Yeah, the HELOC, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And because my debt to equity was so high on the ARV, I was able to get a first position line, jumbo line, 771.
Wow.
I still remember that, 771.
So it paid off all the other lines, and then like
and it was at 1.5%.
Dude, I salivate at like the numbers of like the HELOCs in like 5 or 7 years ago. Like 1.5% HELOC is at $700,000. I'm like, dude,
it's so nuts.
It's like that's crazy.
So that's the story with that.
Okay,
house.
and so I mean, like, so was that your first your first house, your first completed project, and then
Yep.
eventually you started doing more and more of these guys because that
Yep.
was like but like during that process, you learned so much and you had to overcome so much adversity to kind of like obtain this
Oh,
one
man. It was
like
fun.
monster rental.
Yeah. And that was a lot.
So how did you? Okay, so like while you're going through this process of like your first rental,
Yep.
what's happening like on your business side?
So on the business side, business was just getting crazier. I started figuring out how to work with like liquor distribution reps in order to subsidize entertainment costs.
Okay.
I learned how to work
So they're
directly with the
having them
hotels.
sponsor you.
Kind of.
Okay.
Because there's some legality with regards to like alcohol and bars.
I see.
You know, that's why we have a liquor commission. And so if you can kind of insert yourself in between, you can subsidize the cost of entertainment, which helps. It's like a win-win-win.
I see what you're
everyone
saying.
wins. And figuring that out and figuring out the power of negotiating by virtue of having options, right? You have right? That's the saying, right? You have no grounds for negotiation if you do not have another
It's all about leverage, right? I mean, whoever like a lot of times it's like whoever has like the more options, like they can have a better deal because like they don't have to go with the other person, and it's crazy because it's so unfair. Because like I mean, the thing is like the guy who doesn't need it always gets a better deal than the guy that really needs it, just because like the way that the leverage is placed,
in their
right?
favor.
So
Yeah. So I grew that business, and I was doing at the time 500 shows a year.
Wow. So that's like 2 a day almost.
2
like,
a day.
So.
Some days were like 3 to 4 a day.
That's crazy.
And
so you're doing this while you're building your house at the same time.
Oh yeah, it was wicked.
Dude, so like you're building a house, basically putting in sweat equity from scratch, ground up construction.
Yeah.
And you're running like a AV company at the same time too?
The AV company wasn't as busy, but I was still running it, yeah.
So a small AV company, and you're doing like 2 or 3 shows as a musician every single day. That's how long did you sustain this for?
15 years.
15 years you're doing this.
Yeah.
Dude, that's insane, man. Okay.
It was wicked. It was super gnarly.
Okay, so you're a musician, your thing is exploding. How did the other businesses come about?
Which one? The construction one?
So I know what you're asking.
Yeah. So basically COVID hit.
Okay.
And my wife was a bartender at the Sheraton Waikiki.
Okay.
We both lost our jobs. So we had
the musician and the bartender, you mean?
Oh yeah, we lost everything because everything shut down. And I pretty much immediately rounded up some friends as laborers, other musicians. Okay. Because the musicians don't have health care. They don't have retirement. It's hard to get unemployment because you're not employed.
Yeah.
You're self-employed, and if you're not paying payroll, you can't really qualify for unemployment. You know, so and we can talk about that topic too for some other things I got going on. But it was really difficult for us because I had, fortunately, the line of credit.
Okay.
So my monthly payment was extremely low, $636 or I don't know what it was, and the rental income at the time was pretty good. We were still living in the house.
So basically, your rental at that time was helping to cover your daily.
Everything. It covered everything. Okay. And it was great, but I needed to find a way to make more money immediately. And at the time, we had at that point 3 kids. Okay.
How many do you have now?
5.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's insane. But I put on a pouch again and I started hitting the streets. And
as labor, you mean?
No, I just started my own company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I only ever worked for one job ever in my life. Okay. And so I was I wasn't gonna start now.
Okay.
So I immediately formed the company. I think we lost our job. We lost all the gigs, I want to say in May or April
of 2019. 2020. Okay.
And by June I had my own business already.
Wow. Okay.
So I started another business, started doing work here and there, started pushing on Instagram.
You know what I mean? I feel like this is the same story I hear over and over of every successful business owner or whatever. I mean, an entrepreneur is there's always a moment where things get really tough and you come to a decision, right? Hey, what should I do with my life? Do I want to just try and find a normal W-2 or or do I want to kind of bootstrap and figure this thing out, right? And so I feel like this is a pivotal moment in your story where you're you know what, the things are not going so well. Let's start my own business and see what we can do together.
Right. So. And that's what happened. So I started another business, started doing it, started building kitchens.
So this is like a construction business you're starting. Okay.
Construction business. And then I very fortunately had one of my buddies come to me.
Okay.
And he and his father are both licensed, and they were willing to sign for me. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And so
okay.
got licensed, and then just kept working.
So now you got your GC license.
Yep.
Have your own construction company, and just slow and steady, like getting more and more work, and
more and more employees, and just building that business.
How many guys did you start off in the very beginning?
One.
So
Alex Owase. You know who you are. Fantastic musician.
So just you and another dude, like, hey, let's start like a construction company, and just like doing kitchen remodels or whatever it was at the time. And I think like during COVID, like the construction guys were considered
essential
workers.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so you can still work. So
I got my number one guy right now. So he's been my main partner through the whole thing. Is this guy Ryan?
Okay.
And he was a bartender at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. And I would sing in the bar.
Really?
And we became friends. He thought I was crazy. Like he'll tell, because I was trying to help him with his finances.
Yeah.
His wife, he's like, I got student loans and all
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
And I was like, no, I can help you. And he's like, get away from me, you crazy musician. And so he's my number one guy.
Awesome.
He's like,
It's funny, like a lot of times, even our team, like one of some of our team members are like, they originally were partners on other deals, or when you get to kind of spend a lot of time with somebody, you can kind of see like what they're like, their character, and like do you want to continue to do more business with this person? And there's certain people who come to your life, you're like, I just like the way this guy like operates, I like the way he sees the world, or she, and they're like, I would love to have them a part of like my circle of like whatever my daily, and if they can be part of my business, even better, because like we can do some cool things together. You know?
And that's how I feel about a lot of the guys that we have. The culture is easy because they have the same culture coming into it. So
that's really important, because like if you have people from different backgrounds or see the world differently, then like it is going to make it more hard to be on the same page at times. And so like the more kind of like, I guess, congruency you can have across your team, the easier it is for like just like things to flow, to be on the same page, make similar decisions, or see the world like in the same way.
I think that's it, is that if you can have people who have similar decision making skills, but maybe not the speed, that way you have the last say. It's important. I
mean, going back to your point of how you've gotten so far so fast, is how fast you make decisions like directly impacts how fast you're gonna have succeed as a business owner, right?
Well, yes and no. I think I tell all the guys this when I hire them, is that or anyone, even when we do like, I do like some like business coaching on the side. I tell people that if you haven't found success yet, regardless of the speed at which you make decisions, maybe your decision-making compass is like not true north. You know what I mean? Like there's a entrepreneur true north. And if your compass is not facing true north, you can make 10 terrible decisions very quickly and get yourself into a hole. And I know you know people like that.
That's so interesting. I mean, like I've never heard that. Can you like expound this? I mean,
so I think I just gave this talk to my realtors. Okay. And it's that the speed at which that you can make a decision, even if it's something that you don't want to have, a conversation you don't want to have. Just rip the Band-Aid off. To me, I'm always like, they'll be like, what do I do? I'm like, rip the Band-Aid off. Call the client now. Right now. I don't know what to say. It doesn't matter. Call them right now. You'll figure it out. Use your now, right? Make some good choices. And I tell them what that highlights, the true north compass idea, basically highlights your prudence, the judgment that you have, that you naturally have to make a decision, a yes or no decision, right? Will determine how aligned you are to success. So the faster you can learn to align yourself, either by reading, talking to mentors who are actually people that you would be willing to trade lives with. I can't tell you right now how many people are like, they give me advice constantly. Oh, if I was you, I would do this. And if I had all this money, I'm just like, I would never trade lives with you. I'm not listening to you at all.
I mean, that's a really good point, because I think a lot of times, like just when people are in our lives, just because they're in their lives, we start to take advice for them, right? You know, and sometimes like they have the best intentions, right? But like you said, their true north is different than your true north, and like if you take advice from the people who are like in your life, like you're gonna end up with the same course that they had, right? So that's why like parents are like very essential, but it's like it's good and bad, right? Because if your parents are like trying to give you financial advice, but like you look, let's say they didn't have too much like financial success, they're like, well, I mean, like it's. Yeah, I appreciate your advice, but like, if I follow your advice, I'm gonna end up the same way where you are, right?
So I mean, kind of, yeah.
Yes and no. I mean,
yes
like,
and no, yeah. That's a really good. That's something that we could touch on later because I have an entire thing in my mind that I always think about that with regards to like parenting. And then taking advice from your parents and or being shamed into doing something or feared of being judged. And that really holds people back, and it allows it makes them. It causes them to make the choice that is not in line with their heart. Right. And therefore it's not in line with their compass. Just
to kind of satisfy somebody else's expectations or somebody else's like.
Well, out of fear a lot of times. Like, you know, I think you just got to do stuff for yourself, you know, especially if what you want is exceptional results, then you have to take exceptional action, you know, and so.
So how can people get like, so I mean, I love this idea. I've never heard this concept like explained like this before, which is amazing. So, because I've always heard like fast decisions leads to faster success, but bad decisions also leads to like a faster like car crash, right? So
that makes sense.
But it's like so number one is like faster decisions, like you'll get there faster, but then like, it's also important to make the right decisions. And so that's where like a lot of times people are like, it's like if I slow down, maybe I'll make a better or the right decision, right? So like that's where we're kind of like fighting back and forth on.
So. Right. And I think that's where mentorship has to really play into, right? If you really can't make the call, and okay, so here, one of the things I tell people, that's why I'm not on social media. Okay, I'm not like, I have my assistant Kaylin. She does stuff sometimes on there for me. Thank you. And I don't look at any social media or anything. Like, I just try to come up with my own ideas. And then I'll call people who are far more successful than me. Hey, this is a situation I have. Have you had a situation similar to mine? And how did you handle it? And that is the golden ticket right there.
Because like, it's whatever you fill your mind with is going to be like how you make your decisions, right? So like if you're listening to social media all the time, that's going to, whether you realize it or not, is going to inform how you view the world, how you're making decisions. But then if you have like all mentors that you like completely respect and you love like the way they do business or they make live their lives, and you listen to like their advice, now like you take all that information. Now when you're coming to your decision points, like it's gonna be like basically those same mentors that have been like listening to is gonna kind of inform like which way you're gonna go.
Yeah, and then I think that way you can have accountability and ownership of your decision. Whereas a lot of times I see individuals making decisions based on other people's perspectives, which doesn't lead them down that path of like pure insane obsession. Because when it's your choice and you mess up, you're just obsessed with the mess up.
Explain that a little bit more.
Well, if you make a choice that's not yours, and you know in your heart it wasn't the prudent choice, it wasn't that was bad judgment. I shouldn't have listened to the guy on YouTube, right? You know that it wasn't the right choice from the beginning, right? And I think you don't take ownership for it because then you can blame that other person. And I hear that a lot in this space. You know, I think.
Well, I just listened to what so-and-so said to do on his TikTok, right? So like, and it didn't work. So like, it's not my fault.
Well, I hear it a lot. And that's why I don't go to the real estate meetups anymore. Cause it's like 80 people just regurgitating the same stuff. It's like,
explain. No, I'd love to dive into this. What do you mean by that?
I'm not trying to make fun of anybody.
No, please. No, I understand this. No, I love to hear like your perspective on this. So.
Well, it's people want the results without the work. And I think there is an aspect that is very inviting for them because they feel like they can make everything passively. Okay. So if your ROI on a $10,000 private money loan is whatever 20%,
Okay.
which like no one gives. Well,
Yeah.
I've seen some deals that have come across my desk.
Okay.
They're like, we need a quarter $250,000. 20, we'll give you 20%.
Yeah,
like,
because they're desperate,
they're like
right?
desperate, yeah.
But the challenge of those things,
yeah.
whenever like someone offers like a high percentage, is like
might not get it
there's
back.
usually two things. There's usually one thing is like maybe they're inexperienced, right?
Right.
So then no one wants to lend to them because they're
Right.
inexperienced, which is also increases your risk.
Right.
Or they're really short in cash, which means like their other finances are like in a bind. So then like that also it just increases your risk whenever like you're getting a high return.
Yeah,
right?
and that's what is unique is that I hear people say that. I say you have to. I always, you gotta take that the 10,000 foot view.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I harken back to when I was a pilot.
Yeah.
When I used to fly Circle Isle, we call it Circle Isle, you just like fly around. I was building time in a Cessna, so you're going like 60 miles an hour, like not going anywhere.
Okay.
Just like, what the fuck am I doing up here? Like, oh my gosh. Basically, I would look down, like you're flying over like central Oahu, like Mililani.
Okay.
And you see Mililani, and it looks like, I don't know if the people see in the camera, Mililani will look like that big.
Okay.
And then Central Oahu is like that big.
Okay.
And you're like, we're fighting over these tiny little plots of land, and I'm just gonna be dead in like 60 years. So I'm like, what are we really?
Just gives you like a bigger perspective on life and like what you're doing.
So when you zoom out and you make your financial decisions, I look at it as like, well, is this gonna be like life altering money, right? And I have these conversations with a lot of people on the side when they're like, "Oh, you're a realist," because everyone thinks I flip houses.
Okay,
which is,
I thought you did before
everyone
too.
Everyone does too. Yeah, so everyone.
I mean, you're in construction, you own rentals. I mean, like you're a real estate agent. You have all the tools to basically be a philosopher. Yeah. You just don't flip. You just keep them, right?
Yeah, so, I have like basically 3 out of the 5 financial aspects of flipping house that are vertically integrated.
Yeah.
Right? So you would think that I would, but I just don't, and I don't know why I don't. I mean, I kind of have an idea, but I haven't really settled on it. But
what I mean, like, okay, I don't want to bunny trail too much.
The point I was trying to make is that if you invest $5,000 and get a 20% return, that doesn't change your life.
Yeah.
If you invested $50,000 and you get a 12% return, it doesn't change your life.
Yeah.
Right. The leverage point of real estate in and of itself is the greatest leverage, like of anything that you can do. You talk to hedge fund managers, like real estate is one of the highest leverage. You're buying, let's say, what is the interest rate today?
6 or 7%.
6 or 7%. Okay. With the adder on it, you're looking at, let's say it's 7, right? Okay. 7.5 with your property taxes and insurance, $690 so $690 of your mortgage payment is equivalent to $100,000 of mortgage payment. Okay, so every month and money doesn't exist. This is my biggest thing. And I've been saying this since I was like 18 years old. Money is like bullshit. This
is going to be a good clip later. This is interesting. Okay.
It doesn't exist. Right?
It's a concept, right?
It's totally I literally write numbers on a paper check and then I mean, it's transferred now. That's even worse. It's just
I've had this, like, we're going to go on a whole tangent over here. But like, I don't want to go down this road, but like, I've had this exact same thought process in my mind later. Like, I mean, we'll talk about later, like this experience, but like, because the thing is like, when you go to a store, right, like you're buying groceries or you're buying like whatever, like clothes or whatever, it's this magic card that you just swipe and then you get the stuff, right? And it's like, the thing is like, the card is like imaginary, right? And like there's status, there's so much things that's involved in this, and it's just like this magic, like the cloud or whatever. Right? It's like if you let's say you just had like a magic thing where like I just hack like my account to just always have like my credit card balance, I basically am a billionaire because like it's completely made up, right? Like money in general.
And for me, I'm not really like philosophical about it. I'm much more pragmatic about it. I'm like, okay, well, the money doesn't exist. So if I'm going to put my money somewhere, so basically I look at real estate as a tax strategy. Okay. If I am able to buy $100,000, if I told you, hey, Dan, I'll sell you $100,000 right now for $600
a month, for
$90 a month.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I could do a lot with $100,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I said, yeah, but if you only buy what I'm selling, I give you 4.5% return. And you're like, what is that? What are the numbers on that, right? I don't know what it equates to. 4,000 something bucks, right?
Yeah.
$4,000. Well, how much is a house in Hawaii? $1 million.
Yeah.
Right. So what is that? 40 $5,000.
Okay. Yeah.
So if I told you, you give me $690 a month,
Yeah.
every year I give you 45 grand.
Yeah.
What a great trade.
Yeah. No,
That's
100%.
appreciation in Hawaii,
Yeah.
and it's very market stable.
Yeah.
And I view it from that perspective because construction, I can raise my cost basis by capital expenses.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to do a bunch of CapEx, right?
Okay.
You guys understand that? So, and I'm going to raise my cost basis. That way, should I decide to sell in a few years, if I'm living in the property because I'm married, even if I was to make a $1 million net proceed at closing, which would have to be, we're talking like a $1.25 million proceed because commissions, fees, all this crap, it would be tax free.
Because of the live in the 2 years and the last 5 years live in the
Exactly.
exemption. So yeah.
So that's the reason why I haven't flipped. So as long as I don't need to flip, I'm just going to keep holding on to everything. But that's my point, is that that's life-changing money.
Yeah.
If all you had was 100 grand, which most people don't, and you're going to go take it to a PML, like I'm going to go to this REI meetup and they want 40 people to gap fund their hard money lenders so they can do it with OPM and no money out of pocket. I'm going to make 20%. It's like, you're not changing your life, because chances are they don't have the habitual, they don't have the habits of an individual who would be able to then take that and leverage the money to make money, right? That's what they say. They say, the chains of habits are too weak to feel till they are too heavy to break.
Explain that again. It sounds like a great quote. So
so if you have bad habits, right, they're too light to feel until they are too heavy to break.
Give me an example of this. So
example of that. What is the number?
So maybe a bad habit is maybe like watching like eating ice cream or watching TV. Let me watching YouTube every night for like 20 minutes.
That's
right?
That's a health thing. Yeah. Or that's kind of a health and mental thing. For financial things, right? How much does rims on your Tacoma help you buy a house?
Yeah.
Zero.
Okay.
How much does a 10 millimeter gold rope chain help you? Zero.
Okay.
Right. And
you know what's funny is like this is like the same, like, I guess stereotype we talk about, like the Tacoma and like the gold chain. And so it's fun. So we went to this meetup the other night, right? And so my buddy guy too, shout out to you too. And so like we're like just getting to real estate, like, you know, it's like someone we're in a group was talking. He's like, oh yeah, like it's like, what do you do? What is it? Oh yeah, I got a Tacoma. And it's like I want to invest in real estate, but then I also want to like lift my truck for rims. And my friend, someone else, like a girl in the group's like, dude, like you're the typical like gold and you got a gold chain because he had a gold chain. Yeah. It was just like, it's so funny because it's such a Hawaii stereotype to have like the Tacoma and gold chain. Yeah. But he was like, a dude in our group was like, yeah, I want to invest in real estate, but I also want to lift my truck. Yeah, so,
that's it's like, oh, got to put new shoes on the truck. Oh, hey, you know.
I mean, to play devil's advocate is life is not always about like the best financial decision.
Absolutely,
it's also about the best 10,000 views. So sometimes buying the gold chain and buying the truck is actually the better decision in some people's lives. Like, you know, so just for piece of like just your enjoyment of life, and like you just like, you might have to work a little longer here or here, but you're sacrificing this so you can have like this, right? So,
But so I'm not trying to shit on anyone for wanting to buy things. I think everyone, you know, that there's that quote, memento mori, right? Okay. You understand what that means, right? We all die.
Yeah.
And you can't take it with you.
Yeah.
So yes, from the 10,000 foot perspective, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're at a real estate meetup, you're at a real estate meetup. You know what I mean? Like, it blows my mind. Like, well, what are you doing here then? And when you can pick up when you talk with people enough, and they tell you their wants and needs, and then you very quickly can analyze what their habits are. Yeah. Right. And I think becoming completely confident in being insecure about what you don't know is what helps people a lot, because that makes them very open to hearing maybe why their particular habit that has them chained down financially will not help them in financial real estate investments.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tendency is a lot of us, like, we know that we have some bad habits,
right.
but like it's just, we don't want to like take a look at it. Like, you know, it's like if I just don't like think about it, it's almost like it doesn't exist. Like, you know, but when you're forced to take a look in the mirror and say, like, okay, like what is my financial like habit situation? Now, like, number one is like you feel shamed. You feel like it's like, oh, like I don't want, like, you feel like the depressed, right?
Sure.
But you have to get past that in order to like, so you can make a change, right? So it's always like identifying that you have a problem is like the first step to actually find the solutions.
And that's what I mean by saying you should be confident in being insecure. You know, be real confident in that.
Realize that, okay, like this is like my situation. Here's, I need some help. Okay, now let's get a solution to kind of like move me in the right direction.
Yep.
Okay. I love it. I mean, I feel like I'm getting like a little bit of coaching session over here too.
Right on. Well, there's nothing worse than being insecure about being insecure. And I think once you get to a certain point, you can just smell those people out real quickly. And then it's, you know, you can make that choice to whether you're going to help them or not. Because I know that this segment was spawned from just talking about the REI meetups. But
yeah. Sorry, we went on so many bunny shows here. So what were we talking about? I don't even remember.
We were talking about.
So was it your story? I mean, like
kind of the story. But that's, you know, there's a lot of cool things that we've done since with the money, and you know, we've done what I call like that standard. I don't know if you follow Ken McElroy, but he has
a little bit. Okay.
Like the infinite kind of return, right? Where, so after we did the first property, the second property, purchased in cash, 700,000 Palolo duplex.
So I mean, you took the 700 from the HELOC from the first property.
I actually took it as a hard money loan.
Okay.
So, but I had collateral in the house.
Okay.
So took another hard money loan because it's fast, and I had 30 minutes to get the offer in.
Wow. Okay.
And I looked at the lady in the eye. I said, "This is what the offer is going to be. I will make it as agreeable as possible because sometimes agents will not see the ARV."
Okay.
Right? And that works to our advantage.
Yeah.
Right? Makes sense? They're not going to see the potential.
Yeah.
And I scored because it's a duplex. It's top over bottom. It's 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 2 bedrooms.
I mean, just to touch on that point, a lot of times, like when deals come across your plate, the way that you actually find deals is people don't see like the potential that could be available. And so like they price it like the as is, not seeing like what it could be. And then like now it's the opportunity as an investor to like, hey, like I see something like greater than what you can see. Let me like make my offer accordingly. And so like they think they're getting a great deal. You feel like you're getting a great deal. And then, but sometimes it works perfectly. Like, so we offer like 200 grand over asking because like we see something we don't. But then we've also offered 100 grand under asking and lost money. So it goes both ways of like the ARVs, right?
That's where you can decide, right? So if you're an investor in Hawaii, and all you're going to, like if you're like me and you invest in Hawaii, right? All of your investments in 20 years, they're probably going to be
if you're going to hold them for, as long as you're going to hold it,
So it's just a matter of tolerance, right? And being patient. But yeah. Anyways, that deal was very successful.
Okay.
And
so you guys bought it for 700 cash.
700 cash. Closing costs were 36.
Okay.
For me. Put in 80. So I'm at like a little over 8.
Okay. So you're all in like 820, 830 or something like that.
And it appraised at 125.
Wow. So that's a big difference in equity.
Big difference in equity. But the main thing is that we did everything. So it's a brand new house. And we did in 3 months, and the rental income we're cash positive.
So you guys are burning in Hawaii. I mean, like basically like the burn strategy, right? Like buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And so you guys are using the strategy like over and over in Hawaii, which is very, very hard to do. Like, you know, and so.
But I cheat. I'm basically I'm the realtor.
Okay.
I'm the financier.
Okay.
For most of my deals.
Yeah.
I'm the contractor.
Okay.
So there's title and escrow and the other realtor.
Okay.
So, you know, and we manage the property. So,
I mean, like when you say cheat is because like you put in the work to be experts and like have like little businesses and all the parts that are important for related to like real estate investing. So it's not cheating. Yeah. But I mean, like the thing is, and so this another point is like in school, right? Like this, like you have to like you're taking a test. You can't like copy your neighbor's homework. You can't collaborate or whatever. But like in the real world, like you can like Google whatever you want. You can like ask it for advice. You can ask for favors. You can negotiate things. So you can quote unquote cheat like in the real world. And it's like, and it's not, as long as it's not illegal, right? There's a few things that's quote unquote illegal, but as long as you're striking the line of everything that's legal, you want to take as much advantage with like collaboration, cooperation, negotiation as possible to have as much success as you can.
Sure. So, yes, that's correct. But at the same time, like, I can't stress the importance of taxes. Like that's like something that's a whole nother topic that I'm probably not qualified.
Well, the thing is, like, once I think a lot of guys like put the cart before the horse, where like they worry about taxes, because like all the successful people talk about taxes, because all successful people are making a lot of money and they want to shield this money from taxes, right?
Sure.
But then like the challenge is like listen to who you're taking advice from is, if you're just starting out and you're not making any money, don't worry about the taxes, right? Focus on making money first and then worry about like the taxes later.
Yeah. You know, so. And that's a big thing that we'll take that back right there. So I'm assuming your listeners are the people who really are trying to get some sort of information.
There's all kinds of guys.
All kinds of listeners?
Most of my listeners are probably like on the newer side too, to be honest with you. So yeah.
So like the thing to remember, guys, is that when you're starting out, you're not successful enough for the successful people to mentor you, right? So what ends up happening is that, and this is a really good advice I got from the owner of commercial roofing and waterproofing.
Okay.
He told me, and I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
I remember this. He goes, listen to guys who are 10 years ahead of you, 10 to 15 years ahead of you, because they're in it.
Yeah.
And they will help you make good decisions. He said the guys that are 20 years ahead of you will have a lot of wisdom.
Yeah.
And I've always thought of that, because it's extremely difficult to get a mentor that is a valuable mentor. Yeah. Because there's a gazillion people out there who are willing to give you help. I get help from guys who don't even own a house out here. And they're always like, hey, let me tell you, how can I, and like you always hear, how can I be of value to you in your life? And I'm just like,
trying to be like they want mentorship, right?
They want mentorship in reality, but then they're trying to tell me what to do because they saw it on YouTube. And so when you go through that first phase of not being successful enough for the guys who are 10 to 15 years ahead of you to really help you and kind of pull you up, because they're in it. They're in the weeds. They're busy. They're struggling, right? Their struggle, in fact, is probably harder than yours. You just don't realize it, because you see that they have the trucks, they got the fleet, they got the crew, and they're cranking, and they're busy, and they have the contracts, but you don't realize they have the overhead, they have the ground lease, they have the insurance, they have people that they have to hire and fire, and people fight and feud. And you know, that's the loneliest time, because the people that are around you, like in this case, you know, like my friends, when I did the first house, like my friends didn't understand what I was doing. They're like, why would you do that? So much debt. Why would you do that? It takes too long. Why would you live in Kalihi?
They don't see the bigger vision down the road, right? And like you're not on the same page at that point.
And it makes you check yourself, because it's informing you that maybe you're doing something wrong, right? And so you have to have the mental fortitude to make it through that chapter and phase in your life by yourself. So to all of you guys out there, if you really want to do it, you're going to be by yourself. You can have people around you that are positive, but just remember, like the reality of it, when you want to garner the mentorship and respect from the guys who are ahead of you, like real mentorship, you have to prove yourself first. So,
you know, I think, and so this is something I see often, is like doing something from like by yourself is like lonely, scary, and very difficult, right? I mean, it's like as a business owner, like especially real estate investor, when you're just starting out, you're like, let's partner, because you don't want to go by yourself, like you know. And so what I usually I think sees happen is when the two brand new guys are like, hey, let's partner together, they want to partner because they don't want to be by themselves, right? But they're trying to get something else from the other person. But the other guy doesn't want to be by himself. And he's trying to get something from the other person. Usually what ends up is like they both like don't go anywhere because they're not taking like they're not shouldering the burden. They want somebody else to help shouldering the burden for them, right? And so like the challenge is a lot of times, like I think in entrepreneurship or businesses, like you have to be willing to shoulder it yourself and like just handle it, like, you know, like, and it sucks. It's like it's difficult to do, but like finding partners to help you shoulder the burden, like I mean, like I think it works occasionally, but like, most of the times, like the reason why you're bringing the partner is the wrong reason, like, you know.
Yeah,
so.
I mean I think it's a fun thing. I think it's very trendy now to do, right? I have people think, hey, I set up an LLC. I'm like, great. Yeah. You're 0.005% of the way there. You know, it's like, you know, my attorney always says that partnerships are like boats with holes in it. You know,
that's funny.
And that's the truth. I mean, even blood, you know, they say blood is thicker than water. Right. Well, statistically, of all civil lawsuits in the state of Hawaii, I think 44% are like sibling disputes.
Really? That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Of that, like half are about real estate.
Wow. That's interesting.
And that is a partnership in which they already got the golden goose. Like they've already received the prize. And they still can't figure it out. So I think, you know, partnerships, if we're just talking business, then I think partnerships are something where it's challenging, and I'm not saying it's impossible because
I mean it takes a very special connection and people to, I feel like, to make like partnerships work like successfully. I mean, and the thing is, like, I feel like short-term partnerships are great because like there's a start and end, like it's like on a flip or on like a venture where there's like a very clear start and end where we know that, and these are the expectations. Those are great, like, you know. But if you're going for like a long-term, like maybe like ambiguous, like there's no end in sight, like that's when I think when it gets like a little more challenging.
I think you're comparing an adventure to a quest. You know what I mean? A quest is like Indiana Jones action. Like you're not hitting the end of the movie. It just keeps going. And but that's my take on it.
Okay, I mean, so selfishly going back to like the whole thought of like making better decisions with a True North compass. Help me as a business owner. How can I get better at like making better decisions faster? Like, you know, what can I do as a business owner?
Well, I would need to kind of know what your problems are, because you have a few accesses that you can work off of, right? Your health has to be maintained. Right? You're always looking at your money every day. That's what entrepreneurs do.
What do you mean by that?
You open your bank account.
You see this, your cash and your cash flow.
It's like, what do I have in the account today? For me, I have to look.
So
so much money goes out. You look
at you. I mean, so here's the thing is, I'm always like, this is like a challenge for us because like, I don't want to spend all my time looking at like checking the accounts and everything. But then like at the same time, like I know I should do it more because like money is going in and out. Like, you know, it's such a challenge to manage cash flow and everything.
So how is this? If I ask you this question, if you were to know every day what your active liquidity is and at the same time know how solvent you are, would that help you make better decisions quicker?
It would. There
you go. Yeah, that's maybe one thing. So having yourself work on your business and understanding that mathematics, or in this case, the financial aspect of the company, in direct proportion to the goal for 3 months, for 6 months, for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, that helps you shift the company a lot faster. And a lot of times it helps you avoid having to make a tough decision, because by just looking at it, you're going to make a decision instead of being reactive to something that happens in the business. And I think that has helped me a lot. So looking every day, seeing what our accounts receivable, because like right now, every month I spend about $250,000 a month.
Just like just like payments,
in costs,
salaries, materials, whatever, overhead,
everything.
And stuff.
At least that, $250,000 a month. And that's a lot to keep an eye on. Because it goes out weekly, and it goes out at all kind of different times. And so like I have to keep an eye because we float a lot of business. With lines of credit. And
I think that's like, as a business owner, I didn't realize like the strain and like the stress of money moving everywhere. Like, you know, because it's just because like, I mean, so it's funny that when we first started like bringing in some like new people onto our team, like I like because every month we pay the bills, whatever. Like, so the credit card, like every month is like 70 grand or 80 grand, right? And so like, but that's like my whole year's salary when I was a W-2 employee, right? And so like, it's like when you come in and you're like, dude, like you just paid like an 80 grand like credit card bill for this month or whatever. Like it's kind of crazy just to kind of like manage these things, but you have to have a good grasp of like where your money is going on a regular basis in order to make good decisions, like, you know. But it's been a crazy to kind of like just like growth period of like change for going from like my W-2 where every month I just get like, I don't know, like $5 grand a month. The rest now, like, you know, I'm trying to pay like a $70,000 credit card every month. Like, you know?
Right. So you're in a different game now. Right. Yeah. And I would say what I was trying to highlight to you that could help answer your question, which is how do you make decisions? Yeah,
better decisions.
Better, right? So I answered the faster decision side. Okay. So if I was to answer the better decision side, if you drove here from work today. Or from your house today, right? Okay. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How many green cars did you see on the road?
Green cars.
Yeah, because the freeway is full of cars.
Yeah.
Right? How many green? You have no idea.
Honestly, zero. Like I have like no clue. So like, I'd say like zero. I don't know. So.
Right. So if I made a prize like $100,000 and you need to count as accurately as possible, and you will be judged on how many accurate calls you made to count how many green cars there are on the way home. Okay. Would you
100%, yeah.
100%.
I might be locked in. Yeah,
I'd be locked in. Right. So you can think of that analogy as like the amount of cars that are out there on the freeway when you're just traveling every day. That's like very like you're just locked in. You're probably listening to a podcast. You're like, oh, I'm listening to this inspirational, motivational podcast. I'm just gonna be motivated to do nothing again. And basically, you can treat all those cars like opportunities. It's just that you're not looking for the green car. Okay. All right. So if I told you, okay, well, Dan, hey, look, you need to have X amount of dollars for that opportunity that passes you, right? By looking at your finances every day. When the opportunity hits your desk, you can make the call immediately because you don't have to then go, oh, you don't have to jump over a wall. Oh, I don't know. I need to go look. I need to call my accountant. I need to figure out how much money we have. I need to figure out if it's a good choice.
Like, we're just trying to rephrase what you're saying is, as a business owner or as an entrepreneur, as you're going about your daily like activities, you need to be open and like looking for the right things or the right information that's coming in, so that so then when the opportunities come, you can make the decision quicker. Is that I'm trying to like
basically every day you have to educate yourself on the status of the business. Okay. Right? If you're educated by the time the day starts, you don't have to do that again.
I see. Yeah.
Right? That way, when the decision comes
So when you say educate yourself on the status of business, you're talking about like how much cash you have, where the opportunities are, where the projects are, so there's a bunch of different like information pieces that you're going to need in order to kind of like pull them all together into like, if it would be good if you had like a dashboard, say, okay, let's do this and this and this.
How many jobs are there? Because what is the largest aspect of having a business is time management. Okay. Money is one thing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's time management, there's resource management, there's money, right? There's a bunch of things.
There's a lot of things. The time management aspect is so important when you're managing a crew that's supposed to finish on time. Okay. Yeah. So if I'm sitting there not fully recognizing how much money we have in accounts receivable every day and not realizing the manpower allocation that I have available, I might miss an opportunity for a job that let's say I pass on a job. And then the guys call me, hey, what are we doing tomorrow? We close out the job faster than we thought. Well, I could have capitalized on that. So if I'm looking at it every day, when that call comes in, instead of going, oh, let me get back to you. You know what? I'm going to have my assistant reach out to you and blah, blah, blah. I'll be like, love to have the job. Can we walk it this afternoon? Right? And that way you're already clicked in for the day. And then the next morning comes, you set your schedule for the next day, and then you wake up early in the morning, you look at all the jobs, all of the flips, what phases we're in, how much money we have to have go out. Do I need to bring money in from my line of credit? Right? What am I doing? Are we making sure that we're, paying off all of our debts? Okay, cool. This job comes in. Hey, this is a float. It's a 90-day payout, blah, 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 blah. Instead of me being like, hey, give me 5 minutes, I'll get back to you. I've lost deals that way. Give me 10 minutes, I'll get right back to you. I forget it to call him back. And now that makes me look terrible. It would have been better if I didn't even pick up the phone. Right? But to be able to be like, yep, I'm coming right now. I'll come and take a look at it. And that way you can increase the speed of your business, right? Because the velocity that you move at will determine how much revenue you
And
make.
the velocity you move at is dependent on like the information you have and what's like stored in a sortable way, right? Because you need to know like what's going on. And so I think this is something we're currently kind of building into our business right now, actually, because like just how we don't have like a very good like grasp. We do, but it's like it can be so much better. And so like we're actually building some dashboards and some forward projecting reports that we're trying to exactly solve this problem. So that's why it's just like perfect timing, because like very interesting for something we're trying to solve right now.
So here's a really fun one that was cool, is that I was having this issue. Okay. And this is why it's like kind of fresh for me. I talked to my accountant at the time, right? I was paying him a couple $1,000s a year, and he'd do all my taxes and go through everything and just, burden him, drop all these paperwork on him. And I just had a lunch with him. I was like, how's life? He's like, I love going to Italy. He's Italian. He's like, I love Italy. I go there. I want to be there half of the year. And this and that. I'm like, I don't want to lose you. You do my numbers sometimes here and there. When I really need it, can you do it now? Cram this all in. You got to compile all P&L for me. I need a loan. And I asked him, I was like, how many clients do you have? And he's like, 90 something. Wow. I was like, wow, that's not a lot. Because he used to have 400. Oh, wow. Okay, and for him, he cut down. I was like, well, you cut down a lot. He's like, I don't want the burden. I'm happy living a simpler life, which was cool. I was like, well, what is the average pay for a tax return? He said $500. So I was like, $500.
How is that possible, right?
I asked him, I was like, what if you got rid of 60 clients? He's like, my life would be amazing. Because I was trying to get him to do like bookkeeping and stuff for a long time. And he's like, no, call this person. They'll do it for you. I'll just do your end of year stuff. Make a couple grand. And I was like, what would your life be like if you got rid of 60 clients? You only had 30. He's like, oh my God. He's like, I'd have so much time. I wouldn't have to cram at the end of the year. I was like, what if I bought all 60 of your clients out? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I want to buy all 60 clients for $30,000 a year. Okay. Yeah. And I said, how about this? He's like, that'd be cool. Yeah. He's like, what do you want me to do? I said, how about you write me a proposal of what you would do for $30,000 a year? And then
to take over like because like the financial picture is so important, right? So if you could have your bookkeeper, you're basically buying like a very cheap CFO kind of at this point, right? So
exactly.
I love that.
And I have 6 businesses.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like I don't have like infinite amount of time. Yeah. And also I'm not good with phones. I barely can use a computer, and I don't know how to use Excel. Really? Yeah. So I like
That's
literally.
Crazy.
My favorite thing is a Post-it notepad. Okay. So if you ever come into my office, there's like thousands of Post-it notes that probably should be thrown away, and it just looks horrible.
But I mean, I like that. I mean, I'm also a fan of the tactile. I use Post-it notes myself. It's like the.
It's a good reminder. Yeah. It works, and I realized immediately. I was like, oh. This will become an expense write-off for the company, for the companies. Yeah. So when I extrapolated all of that out over the 6 companies. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, what is my cost per week per company? And I was like, I'm basically getting a CFO. Yeah. For $100 a week.
I mean, like honestly, like that's an amazing deal. Like
isn't that a great deal? Yeah. But that's my point, is that it's a great exchange, because he was content with that. So it's like, hey, and I asked him, how you doing? He's like, oh, I'm loving life. Yeah. And I get a report every Friday. Yeah. So every Friday I get a P&L that's kicked out. I get a general ledger. I know exactly, because at the end of the year it's like a 180 sheet thing that I don't know how to read. I don't want to read it. I just want to know what is the end result. And that way we can move from year to year, from week to week, month to month. I think
we might. I mean, I'm just thinking of ideas for us. I mean, like, but I mean, I'm just thinking like. So another guy I talked to recently was like, when you're looking at your accounting reports, like usually accounting is like backwards facing, right? So like you see what just happened in the last month or thing. But he said the most important reports are the forward facing ones. So like projected what's going to happen in the next 3 months. And so it's like you need to create a dashboard, a system where you can project what's going to happen, and then that's how you're going to make your decisions like in the future, because the past is going to farm you to a certain extent, but the most important ones is the forward facing report, where you can make better decisions like moving forward, and you can kind of navigate as like you see what the things are coming up, right? So
you just proved my point. if you're forward thinking, then you will be looking for the green car.
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, that's like. I mean, like the analogy is clicking for me right now. So
okay,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So if you are the CEO of the company, right? You are the individual who is almost in a sense the navigator, and then your president is like the guy steering the ship, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
being forward thinking comes, and the information is derived not from feeling, not any sort of emotion, or it's not derived from anecdotal evidence from the people in the business. It's from the numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And not saying that those things are not important. Those are also
factors,
crucial.
Right? So,
But the numbers are very important, because if that is the case,
yeah.
and I know, so every month, shout out to Jennifer Domingo. She's at Guild Mortgage, and Aaron Domingo, her husband, he's at Westpac Wealth Strategy Partners. I meet with them once a month.
Okay.
Because she's a lender, he's a financial advisor.
Okay.
I have my numbers from my accountant, and I have my assistant there, and we meet up, and I just basically get pre-approved all the time.
Oh, I love it.
For fun.
I love it.
So that way, at any time, I know
to get, if you need to like take out loans or like lines of credit or whatever, want to buy something.
Yeah, if I needed to buy something, I know what my capacity is. That way, every day, I don't miss opportunities as they pass me by. Because then if I'm sitting there not stuck in the business numbers, I can think about, well, I'm eligible, I'm qualified for these opportunities, the green cars.
Yeah.
I'm going to look for the green cars.
I got you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes 100% sense.
So that's how I operate, and to make better decisions, to bring it back. Yeah.
Super good, man. I mean, like, I kind of want to talk with you more. Maybe we'll have a chat after this.
Yeah,
but
okay,
like but I mean, just like to end like our time together, if people want to reach out to you or find out more
Sure.
about you, what's the best way to do so?
So I believe I have a website now.
Okay.
It's Jeremy Cheng Hawaii.
Okay, Jeremy Cheng Hawaii. You couldn't get the Jeremy Cheng.
Yeah, but there's that, or that would be the best.
Okay.
I think it's on there, and also they have like a number of websites.
Cool.
So yeah,
Okay.
can reach out there.
Well, thanks. So appreciate
You're
you having
welcome,
the show,
brother.
man.
Right on. Thank you.